All right, guys, we are back, and look who we got here. We've got Mr. DJ Wheat in the house with us. Welcome to the show, buddy.
What's up, man? I've been watching most of it except for what, the last hour.
The last hour? Okay.
Yeah. So
you missed our depressive discussion about the depressive side of.
No,
I really lowered the tone.
It was Axiom. That was when I had to stop.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's when I had to stop listening.
All right, cool. Well, Marcus, great to have you on, and I figured to start off. We talked a little bit about Twitch when TB was on, but you being at Twitch, probably have some more questions for you. First off, how do you feel about the whole thing, just personally?
Personally, I think it's amazing. Obviously, I began working at Twitch in October or end of September of 2011. This was about 3 months after Twitch became Twitch. And, I feel like I along with a lot of other people, have worked really hard and have, busted their ass. So I feel great. I think it's amazing. I couldn't be happier with the company. I mean, outside of that, and taking any bias away, like, I buy the shit out of Amazon products, and I also use Comixology, which is a great resource for digital comics. My wife does buy shoes, so I mean, like, shit, for me, I'm just like, this is the best. I've been buying all my Christmas presents on Amazon, and now it's gonna pay off. Like, this is awesome.
Any Amazon perks for you?
I would say becoming an employee of Amazon is pretty decent.
Cool,
Mr. Chan, man. Yeah.
Good stuff. Yeah, definitely good stuff. All right.
I'm waiting for you to play the look at my bank account. That's what I'm waiting for.
I could probably load it up. It might take a couple seconds, but for all the COD fans, I'll make sure I drop one on you. Yeah.
Oh, nice. All right, so does it change anything for you guys? I mean, I know they were saying that Twitch would still continue to operate as a subsidiary and just as is, pretty much.
I think that in the immediate, no, it doesn't change a whole lot. We're still, it's business as usual.
Yeah.
As you can just obviously see from the site, I think that what it means immediately is that now it's time to explore what resources and what services make sense for Twitch to utilize. Both Mike and Emmett from Twitch, obviously Mike from Amazon, made mention to that there's obviously a lot of synergy for what technologies Amazon holds and what Twitch has to offer. So, I mean, you guys talked about quite a bit of it when TB was on, and I would say that many of the things that you guys hit on are definitely things that potentially could happen. From the affiliate stuff to obviously the AWS stuff. So, I think it's great. I think that we probably haven't even thought of potentially amazing ideas, and that's what's really exciting about everything.
Awesome. Richard, gonna dig?
Well, yeah, obviously, but as we established in the pre-chat, like, I'm not gonna get much.
You could try, man. No,
I'll definitely fucking try. Look, here's the thing. Like, we obviously know there was multiple large companies that were interested in acquiring Twitch, and Google were one, and Amazon obviously were another. There was probably some more in the mix. I mean, you've kind of got to say that you're glad that Amazon looked out and won the bidding, so to speak, and I totally get that. But what about now, retroactively, we can definitely talk about the Google thing. And I think most of the fans of Twitch have kind of arrived at the conclusion, be it true or false, that it's a good thing Google didn't win. So what are your thoughts on that?
So, I mean, obviously, I was not sitting at any of the tables. I'll just put that out there, obviously.
What's your title, though? Aren't you vice president of...
I'm the director of community and education.
That's a hell of a title, dude.
It is, but that's not a title that sits down and works on acquisition deals, Richard. So, what I feel is what I'm going to tell you. Not what I know, but what I feel is that Amazon maybe provided a better way for Twitch to remain as Twitch. And on top of it, got the benefits. Again, this is just how I feel about it. I understand that Google culture is amazing. But, you know, I also understand that within their culture, that might not mesh well with our culture. Amazon does have a history of purchasing companies and then letting them run independently. That, to me, must have been something that was, something that was taken into account at a high level, I think, because obviously you heard the numbers, right? I mean, they were about the same. So then it comes down to, well, what happens to the employees? You know, what happens to the people that worked on Twitch? What happens to the infrastructure? And I think to me, I mean, logic presents itself, and it just makes more sense, even from a culture point of view.
So you think the antitrust thing was just spinning and that sort of it?
I don't know. I mean, I think TV mentioned, like, obviously that would be something you'd want to avoid. But again, I wasn't involved in that, and I can't really speak to that. I can just tell you how I feel about it. And working with a lot of these people, one thing that they always were always very confident about is that no matter what the future of Twitch was, is that it would remain Twitch. And that was very important. I think that I see that every day in my workplace, and hopefully people see it on the outside looking in. But that's just what I think, Richard.
So
as far as other companies, go ahead.
No, you go.
I was just going to say, as far as other companies, because that was mentioned as well, you know, I wanted to know what the other I want to know what the other companies were, and I'm sure that there were, and I bet you we will find out about them.
Yeah, I mean, Facebook kind of feels legit. I did hear that on the grapevine. I mean, I know they moved in on a lot of different things that maybe even doesn't make sense, like the Oculus stuff, so it's possible. But yeah, you're right. I'd love to hear some more of the companies. I mean, holy shit, there must have been more than just Google and Amazon, right?
I mean, would you speculate that potentially, like, game publishers or even a Microsoft or so, like, I don't know. Again, I don't know.
Yeah.
I would imagine that when the Google stuff happened, that maybe there were a lot of, knocks. I don't know who they were. In fact, just so you know, like, I didn't know about it until Monday either.
No, I believe that, though. This is what I've always said. Like, I actually do believe that. I think the only way that Twitch could have kept it as locked as they did was to literally maybe, there was a tiny amount of people at a very high corporate level that knew. And they just didn't tell anybody.
I mean, something like that, I think, has to be protected in order to make sure that everything happens as it should. So, of course, there was like an initial shock of like, how did I not know about it? But I mean, Monday was kind of a roller coaster that ended up like just never stopped, pretty much. So
yeah.
Okay, so here's the awkward unfiltered questions, because everyone's saying, "Oh my God, Rich is so PR," and blah, blah. So I'm just gonna be an asshole about it. So, apologies. This is Unfiltered and making me do this. The fans, not me.
Yeah. Yes, of course.
You know how it is, Marcus. Come on. Right now that Amazon have acquired Twitch, there's been a lot of talk about, even though they publicly said they won't change things. Do you think there's a chance that they may look over and be like, well, we've got this director of whatever, and maybe they might start phasing some of the old school people out, and so you don't have a job anymore? Like, is there a part of you that's a little bit worried?
I'm not at all worried about it, because again, I look at historically how other companies have been handled under Amazon acquisitions, and I also feel very strongly that no one from Amazon comes in and is looking inside and going, we could probably make this happen better. Right? I think that they're obviously, and I have to believe in like our CEO and everyone involved in the deal, that they believe in their employees as much as they believe in the company. And that, a lot of what has happened is due in part to the employees that are there, and a lot of the work that has been done, the infrastructure that's put out there. So I don't think they're like, why would you want to? This is something that built up to be 55 million users a month in 3 years. Like, why would you want to come in and interrupt something like that? Could it happen, Richard? Like, fuck yeah, man, anything could happen, right? Like, anything. We could get rebranded tomorrow, but it doesn't make sense. It would be out of it would be sort of not the same way that other companies have been dealt with. So I think from that perspective, like, everyone from a viewer to a broadcaster to an employee should feel pretty good about that. At least that's, again, how I feel.
And the other unfiltered question, and then we'll go back to having sensible, non-childish discussions. The other unfiltered question is, of course, a lot of people have been speculating about, long-term employees must have made some serious bank. Maybe there was some share options, this kind of thing. Now, obviously, I know you can't say, but can you say?
Well, I mean, you know me, I don't like to talk about numbers, but I don't have any problem saying that, like, as of Monday, I don't have to worry about my family. And that makes me feel really fucking good.
Nice, dude.
So that's that's what I would say about that.
Do you know what, dude? I'm fucking pleased about that, and it's a great. That is the best way to answer that fucking question. So there we go. Now we cannot be
exactly. Cheers to that, man. Cheers to that. All right. So
there you go. I've done the unfiltered asshole questions, Chris. We can go back to vanilla now.
No, this is good. This is actually a good segue or transition because speaking of family, right?
Well, there was something else.
Okay, sure.
Because a lot of people, and I think that you mentioned it earlier, Steven, and that was like the delay. And I saw a lot of people asking about it. So, I mean, I hear this question a lot, and I really I want to comment on it because I want you guys to know, like, they are really working hard on lowering the delay. And there are a few test instances that are out there right now where you can see like a 7-second delay. Of course, there's still like a balance of buffering and whatnot. But I know that that's a concern for a lot of people, including myself, because I stream as well, and I don't want to interact on a fucking 30 or 45-second delay. So I just wanted to make the comment that they're working, and I've even used the test delay that's 7 seconds, and I do believe that that's in the future. So
cool shit.
Awesome.
Okay, cool.
I think everyone will be happy about that. I mean, here's the thing though. So just so we're clear, is that as a direct result of Amazon influence, like, or is that something Twitch was always going to resolve?
It was always something that has been working on. Like, I've seen it being worked on, for a few months now. The video team, it's like one of their highest priorities. But will that maybe make it come faster? That was one of the things Emmett talked about the most on Twitch Town Hall, which for me was great to hear too, is that he believes that because of the resources, things will happen faster.
Yeah. I actually watched that, dude.
That's great. It was a good interview. It was a great interview.
Yeah, I mean, me and Chris both watched it, and it's like it's super rare I have the time, which is kind of weird as a journalist. Like, you think I would. I generally only research the stuff I need to research for stuff I'm writing about. But I watched that, and I was like, I kind of got that. Like, yeah, fuck yeah. Like, it was a really good interview, and I think it addressed.
If Emmett says that things are going to go faster, like, you got to understand, to me, that's fucking awesome to hear, because Emmett is very serious about deadlines and very serious about the projects that are being worked on. So if those words are coming out of his mouth, like, that's a fantastic word to hear.
Yeah, definitely. And it felt as well, though, that he had a real understanding of the community concerns. Yeah. Like, and they were all addressed pretty much. Like, I can't think of anything that wasn't really. But like to even have the foresight, like, I mean, we've all seen many an embarrassing situation where, like, I don't know, fucking rich dude buys a company, comes out front and center because he's the CEO and president for life, and then comes out and then gets hit with a bunch of questions like, what are you going to do about the lag? And the guy's like, I don't even know what lag is, Like,
right.
It could have gone absolutely hideous. But it didn't, man. The guy, like, fucking literally knew exactly what he was talking about and knew exactly what concerns he had to address. And that was, like, a super awesome thing to see. Like, I think a lot of the mainstream gaming press reported on that, and I think it's given everyone that feel-good factor, like a bit of good faith that, oh, well, maybe Amazon are going to handle this correctly.
No, I agree. I mean, I like how they handle it. And I personally, like, Emmett is a gamer. He loves Twitch because he watches, you know, like he watches Twitch all the time. So I mean, he does understand it, which is great. And I feel like Amazon, you know, I think they get it as well.
Cool, awesome. Well, we're gonna talk about Twitch stuff too. What about yesterday and the craziness that's been happening?
Are we doing it? Are we mentioning their name?
I haven't mentioned their name, but I'm just asking generally.
Yeah, but
speaking.
are we?
Can I ask you guys a question?
Mm-hmm.
Can I ask you a question?
Go for it.
So I mean, about the LS, right?
Mm-hmm.
We won't mention. We will call them the LS. So, you know, I understand like everything they're doing. It sucks, obviously, right? Like knocking out game servers. You know, they hit Twitch, like all this different stuff. But I have to like, when you divert a plane because of a bomb threat that you instigated, you know, especially what seems to be like over Twitter. Do we not live in a world where Twitter doesn't go, holy shit, like that's actually, you know, pretty bad. It was in the news. Obviously, we should shut down this account. We should suspend it. I don't understand like how that works exactly, but you know, like freedom of speech, whatever. It was an attack. Just like any other company that gets attacked, you got to figure out how to defend it, I guess.
Yeah.
So.
I mean,
it's look, dude. I mean, I fuck, like that is beyond trolling at that point. It's like you say, you know. I mean, who? There's no credible terrorist organization that's going to be like, Osama, we must update our Twitter account. Tell the world, tell them that we must bomb. You know,
it's pretty
come on,
fucking
man.
wild, man.
Yeah,
it's pretty wild.
Like,
and then with the swatting stuff too,
Yeah,
like
that too.
I was
dude.
talking to Jen. I'm like, dude, cyber terrorism, man. It's
real.
Steve,
People just
it's
don't
real.
You
if the
have to
police
worry
just-
about that shit.
yeah.
If police just don't give a fuck or what, I'm not entirely sure. It seems like the internet is still a little bit wild westish, and that you do things like DDoSing, which is becoming more and more and more of a fucking problem. Like every fucking day, like all these DNS amplification attacks and shit that are existing now that are bringing down these major fucking websites. Like Twitch serves a lot of fucking traffic on the internet. Like even you want to talk about uniques or like total bandwidth served. Like for a site like that to get shut down, I don't know. Like these DDoS attacks, and they're affecting everybody now, right? DDoSing, like even going back as recently as like 3 years ago, DDoSing only affected like a small streamer, like a streamer would get DDoS, LOL, Epic trolled, you know, or maybe like smaller websites would get DDoS,
Yeah.
whatever. But now when you're seeing like Riot servers getting DDoSed, or Blizzard servers, or Valve servers, or fucking, you know, all of Twitch getting DDoSed, like, I don't know, it's becoming a really big problem. I wouldn't mind seeing like fucking firing squads for some of the fucking pieces of shit that do shit like this. Especially the owner of that Twitter account. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. Like the level of like the absolute lack of accountability or like punishment or anything is absolutely fucking ridiculous. And it's not, and it's one of those things where like we say we don't want to say the word anymore, but like it's not at the point now people are like, oh well, if we just don't give them attention they won't do it. It's fucking bullshit. It's 100% fucking bullshit. Maybe like it might have worked that way a while ago, but like when you're shutting down a service that has, you know, 300,000 active players, you know, in CS:GO or whatever, you don't need people to tweet about how mad they are. You don't need people to go, you know, you're fucking up a huge service that a ton of people are taking advantage of. Like no amount of don't give them attention is going to change the satisfaction that they get from shutting something down like that.
And it's so trollish. Just like last night, it was like write, you know, LS on your forehead, and then we'll basically release it, right? It's just crazy. I mean,
I did an interview which I never released. I've always been thinking about writing it up. I'm looking at it right now in front of me. I don't know if people remember when Derp Trolling were like the group that was disrupting everything. And I did an interview with the guy who had inherited Derp Trolling because the main guy got raided by the FBI.
Oh, right.
And we did an interview. Like I was super wary about adding him on Skype, obviously. But you know, I was like, oh god, how's this gonna go? And he was under the fake name Sam Bin Laden, and we did a very long interview, and it was really weird because, like, on the one hand, he was like saying to me, yeah, people should be mad, like if your game, you know, if the game service that you use to play games gets taken down, be mad. If you're a streamer and you get fucking, you know, you get your stream hacked, be mad. But by the same token, he was like saying, but we do this because this is our competition. Like he was saying, you guys are competitive. Seriously, he was saying you guys are competitive gamers, and it's like winning a tournament is the be all and end all for you. He goes, but what we did at Derp Trolling was we raised the DDoSing bar when we attacked Cloudflare, and it was an incredible target. I mean, like Cloudflare are obviously one of the people that do DDoS protection, and one of the biggest on the internet. And what Derp Trolling did was they took them down, and they
Richard. I'm not okay. Go.
No, I'm not excusing it, but this is just to try and get into them mindset from someone that's had direct contact. They were saying this is like our, not fucking Olympics, but this is how we measure our success.
Yeah, sure.
So like Derp Trolling raised that bar, and now people are trying to get above that bar. Like, and I'm not saying it's right, because it fucking isn't. And I'm super happy that people go to jail over this shit. Like, I think it's brilliant. Thank you. But thank you to all the people that don't protect themselves. But by the same token, if you want to get into the mindsets, like this guy as well, he's like intelligent enough to do this shit, but he struggles at school. He's young.
Well, it's just a matter of where you put your attention.
Yeah, it's not necessarily.
No, I know, and I suspected from the interview he might have been somewhere on the autistic spectrum as well. And certainly when I've written about hackers in the past, which I did for the guy Shane Duffy who hacked Riot, he was Asperger's and was homeschooled from about 8 or whatever. So I don't know, dude. Like, I mean, I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, a lot of people portray them as like these like they're like me and you, like they're normal guys and they're just being an asshole. But I think there's maybe a little bit more to it than that.
You know what? I can halfway appreciate that, even though it sounds a little silly to go, hey, Steven, I robbed fucking $500,000 from this bank. Why don't you go see if you can rob $700,000? At the same time, their actual words don't really reflect that sort of we are proud of what we have done, except in a really sort of, douchebaggery way.
Right.
Like, would I think different about this, or would you, if they said, this is our goal, this is what we've set out to do, and we have accomplished it. We are proud of our work. But instead, it's like, we tell SOE's down. I mean, not to. I guess people celebrate in different ways, but even some of the past groups that have been mentioned were, did the exact same thing. So I don't know. I'm sure they are very proud of being able to do that, and that's great. But I definitely feel like there has to be some sort of a power thing going on as well.
Absolutely. And what I'm trying to do is, I just think, I think when it strays into the realm of the dangerous is where people are like, DDoS, like, I've seen some people say some ridiculous shit, like, like your RuneScape fucking server got DDoS for 15 minutes, and they're literally talking about killing a guy, and it's like, well,
wow.
I don't know who the bigger asshole is in this equation, really, but I don't know, like, no one ever tells the DDoS's side, I guess, and that is often because they don't have a side.
That's because they can't give their side.
Right. Yeah. So, I understand that, but I am not a supporter of DDoSing. I'm not a supporter of hacking, but I know. Okay, so here's some other examples. We know from 4chan, there've been some hacking groups that have took down web hosters and people that do things like that have hosted child pornography. Now, even though that was a tiny part of their business, and maybe they weren't even aware of it, entire web services have been DDoSed by 4chan, and I consider that almost like a social movement, and that's actually, in my opinion, a good thing. Like, you didn't vet See, I'm wrestling, Steven. I'm wrestling. Let me wrestle you one little bit more, and then I'll unleash. No, let me wrestle you a little bit more, and then I'll unleash full maximum Steven. Okay. So here's the other Russell lads coming in. I also saw recently there was a documentary. I think it was called Hacktivism, and it was on Netflix. And it was about 4chan people who'd started their own social movements, and they were talking about how they DDoSed banks and people like that who'd put in, unacceptable charges, who'd been behind the financial collapse when it happened, and then it went on to the Egyptian government. We DDoSed the fuck out of them, to stop their essential services. And I was like, fuck yeah, this is cool, actually. Good on you. Fucking DDoS those fucking pricks. And it totally sat right with me. So I guess it's a matter of perspective. Steven, go nuts. Bam. I'm out.
Okay, so vigilantism is something like you see it in every single movie, and then it always starts out at the beginning where everybody's like, "Yeah, vigilantism," and then the one thing will happen, and then everybody has to do the double take, like, "Wait, maybe vigilantism is super fucked up." This is gonna wrestle some people super hard, but I'll use your first example, and then I'll move on to a second real example. Okay, for the first example, we'll not say this is real, but for the child pornography thing, right? Like, let's say that you've got a bunch of people in France where I think you can legally have sex at 16. Is it 15? Say that somebody there is distributing pornography of like 15, 16-year-olds where it's legal, and somebody somewhere around the world decides that they don't like that and they're going to DDoS you, and everybody celebrates it from that culture because, like, you run into so many different problems on a world scale trying to police people like that. Like, it's really nice when we can look at really obvious, like, right and wrongs, like, oh, like that one guy was torturing his cat and 4chan hunted him down, like, yay, that's
right,
cool.
right.
But, like, for instance, like, I talked with the, you said you talked to the derp trolling guy, Richard?
Yeah, I interviewed him, yeah.
Is he French?
Well, it's very hard for me to tell.
Because you didn't actually talk to him.
No, we did it. We did the whole voice scrambling thing.
Oh, you did talk?
Voice scrambling.
Well, did he have, like, a fucked up accent? Could he speak English very well?
How do you tell behind, like, okay, so he sounded like, hello. Like, what do you want me to say, man? He sounded like Babe Ruth towards the end. What do you want me to say?
Okay.
Like,
I don't know. I think I thought I talked to the derp trolling guy, but it might have been another one of the big DDoSers. But I had him to talk to him for a little bit with Desro because this guy could speak French and I needed Desro to translate. Because his English wasn't very good. But this guy was convinced that he was doing a good thing by DDoSing streamers because he thought the fact that they collected donations was disgusting when there were, poor sick kids around the world that the money could go better off to. That's an issue where it's like, you could probably get some people behind that, like, oh, like these guys sit in places playing video games all day, and now they're collecting money from donations. That donations could be saving lives, and like you could justify, like, I'm going to DDoS them out now so that the people, like, you get into like really weird territory when you start saying that some forms of vigilantism is okay, because you open like this whole can of worms where instead of trying to like go through every issue, we're like, well, is it okay here or not here? Like, it's way better to have a blanket like, fuck no, you have to go through official channels if you want to get these problems solved, because vigilantism is only going to become absolutely fucked if you allow it to carry on, in my opinion.
Yeah. I agree with that.
I would agree. I mean, especially when you can do it at a level of anonymity that you could not do before. I mean, that's scary as fuck to me as a parent, as a kid growing up. Like, it's a whole new world.
Yeah, and so that kind of brings up the topic too of just family. You know what I mean? And this is the reason I'm stopping, doing the shows, or just not this.
Great
but
segue.
Not this.
Great segue. I gotta say, Chris, holy shit, you got so good at this.
I mean, I'd be lying if I didn't think that this aspect had nothing to do with, at least had like an inkling of a decision as to why, I want to kind of stop doing this, at least so much. But generally speaking, Marcus, you're a perfect example of being in a pretty similar, boat. Obviously, you're much more successful in the esports space than I am, but you've kind of gone through this, and we saw you kind of join Twitch, right? We saw you join Twitch in October and start, doing a little less casting, if any casting. I don't think you really do any casting at this point, but you still do some content at home, with live on 3, and obviously with the Twitch, the Twitch shows now. But generally speaking, like talk to me from the standpoint of being, a person in esports, especially a content producer / caster.
Well, I mean, I mean, so I'm maybe a little bit different. There's some folks that I think have some similarities to sort of the path that I've chosen to take. But I mean, I think I want to just reiterate and at least say to a lot of people is like, I've casted now for like 15 years, and I still fucking love it. I absolutely love it. But at the same time, like when I joined Twitch, I really felt like, dude, I'm doing something that for me and my sort of my career path, like this makes a lot of sense, that I finally get to take a lot of my knowledge about streaming and a lot of my connections and really try to, build something and help build something with this company. And the moment that I did that was pretty much the moment that I started doing less and less casting. And this year in particular, I not only took on a new role, but I also have just happened to have like 2 fucking best friends get married and like 5 babies get popped out of vaginas. And like suddenly IRL is like, where I want to go do this event this weekend. I have this going on, or we're going to a baby shower, or I still want to have a very active part of that, as a part of my life. And, right now I've been traveling to Twitch a lot more, which hasn't helped me. It's mean that I've had to cut back on streaming as well. So, at the end of the day, like if I could take every streaming job that comes or every casting gig that came my way, I would fucking take it. But now I have to look at it from, okay, how much time is that away from my family and how much time is that away from my job? Because anything that I do on top of that, it just means that I'm going to be compiling more and more work. So, I think that probably at the end of 2011 and going into 2012, I started saying to myself, I need to think about, where my priorities are going to be. And God bless Twitch, because they let me continue to cast. Like they could have very easily said, yo, why don't you focus on work? And I think I was in a great position where like I could go to these events and then I could talk to people. And for 3 years I've been a Twitch evangelist. So that's, it's no surprise to anyone, but I think that was beneficial. They saw it at that. They let me exercise that. And I think I got to the point where I was like, I started feeling guilty for the time that I was away from Twitch, and casting. So, yeah, going back to family, dude, like, Steven knows, like, there's like a balance. I'm sure that each of us has had these like feelings of guilt where it's just like, shit, I could spend this little extra time here or there. But, I've been very fortunate to have a rock solid wife and mother to DJWheat who supports me in everything that I do. And although we are sort of a single income family and she stays at home, like I think that her job is just as important as my job, because I'll tell you what, I don't pay a bill. Like I don't, like she's the one that is taking Minnie to all of his soccer shit. And like, we definitely have to work as a unit to make this all work. And I don't think we still quite figured out what that perfect balance is. So, like it's not easy, and it's not easy for anyone. I'm not saying that like my life is this or that is any harder than someone else who's a streamer or whatever. But I'll tell you what, when you throw a kid into the equation, it really does like change, or a couple of kids, like it changes a lot of shit. And it's interesting because we're starting to see the next generation, right? Steven, we've got Elohim is about to have a kid. I've got DJWheat. So, at least we've got sort of these streamers and individuals in this space who are, who are sort of, I guess, juggling, like leading that path and showing that you can juggle and you can do it. But at the same time, like it's really hard. It's really difficult. And I'm sure for you, like I've actually put shows on the shelf, ChanManV, I love doing the show Epileptic Gaming, but I'm putting it on the shelf. Like I needed those breaks, and it's tough. Like I'll shut up now. You talk about it. Right? This is why we're here. Pretty
much. And it's great having you on, Marcus, because you're one of the people, and I've talked to you right just recently about it, and it was it was even on my mind, even when in Boston a little bit. But being a parent, see, the thing about esports is that it is really optimal for people who are single and people who have no kids and people generally in their 20s and early 30s and that sort of thing. And then when you start having a family, it's really difficult. And I kind of went the opposite. It's kind of fun. We were talking how it's like our our path through esports is kind of opposite, because I started with the job first, right, and then kind of doing this on the side, and you kind of kind of swapped it. And it was like incredibly hard, and the biggest thing is just mind share a lot of times, right? Like you were talking about, you wanted to think about Twitch more. It's like that's the same thing. It's like with me when it came to like this esports thing, and that's why I want to just like try to focus on one thing and then see if it's actually a possibility or not. And for me, it's just too hard. The weekends are just so hard. Like it's like I want to watch the esports stuff, but I want to do all the family stuff too, more, right. Actually, just a tiny, not a tiny bit, a little bit more, but it's more, and yeah, I could watch it on Twitch, like my phone. If my data plan for my phone, it'd be amazing to see how much freaking data I've like consumed on my phone from the standpoint of Twitch, but it's just too much, it's like if I'm like watching, WCS or something like that going on the weekends, it's basically me not paying attention to what the hell's going on in front of me, right? Just being there, just physically being there isn't enough a lot of times. And that's kind of where I've been. And then with the shows too, it's like I love these shows, guys, you know what I mean? And Wheat, I know, understands this. It's like one of my babies, you know what I mean? It really is. And it's like I don't do this for the money, it wasn't until recently I was exploring whether it was even worth it doing for money. But these things are like my babies, so giving them up, it's not an easy thing to do by any means. And I know, you shelving like epileptic and even some of your other shows too. You had the call-in show, and it's not an easy thing to do. But for me, it's just like all those people asking why I should just like back off and just do one show. I can't do that, guys. Like I just cannot do that.
Right. It's hard to half-ass.
Yeah, it's like I can't half-ass it. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it full bore. It's like.
Can I ask you an unfiltered question?
Yeah, ask me.
ChanManV?
Ask me.
So, I'm like in my situation when I actually met my wife in college, right?
Yeah.
And then we dated for a couple years as like dumb 18-year-olds, and then she actually went to Houston, and then came back like a few years later. And of course, one thing led to another. We were like, oh, we're smarter and we're not as dumb. And we got back together. But at that point, like I was into the gaming stuff. I was playing Quake at the time. So I was basically doing the pro thing. And that was like, I was like, yo, honey, like this is it, right? Like you got to understand this is a part of it. It's like, okay, all good. So, I had that support, but like through that, she just sort of, got acclimated, I think, to all of the esports stuff and the content and sort of why I was doing it and what my goals were.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you like swap. So like my unfiltered question is, like how much because I know that your family and your wife is included in this.
Yeah.
Like that is a big part of your decision. But like, did she encourage you to make this decision? Or was she
directly?
supportive?
She didn't even know I announced that I was going to stop my shows. Like,
really?
Before. Yeah, I didn't even tell her I was going to do. I mean, I didn't tell her prior to doing it. Obviously, after I did it. So to answer your question, does it have any influence on it? Yeah, I mean, seeing her have to, like cover for me, when it comes to like the weekends and that sort of thing, absolutely influences me. I mean, you watching 3 kids. That is not easy, okay? And having to run them. Thankfully my in-laws are like close by too, so they can help. But even that, it's like I don't feel right about that too, in some ways. So if you're asking whether my wife like gave me an ultimatum that we had to quit, absolutely not. Like she's amazing. Like
I'm so glad
like,
to hear that. I just
absolutely
I felt
amazing. Like
that's great.
And she's just not even into this stuff like at all. Like that's the thing. Like she's not into gaming. She's not into esports. She's like just extremely, I guess the word is tolerant or supportive of it because I'm passionate about it, right? And it's actually kind of crazy, even like if I think about it, and I kind of put myself in her shoes and. Kind of what I'm doing, like basically going from, making a very good living, doing what I do in mobile to like doing nothing, like almost making nothing, right? Trying to do this for just this year. And she didn't freak out, you know what I mean? She was just like, okay, yeah, You know, she just kind of trusts my decision and just completely supportive of that. And that's like, you know, that's crazy for me. And that's, you know, I'm just lucky. I'm like extremely lucky. From that
You are,
standpoint.
man,
Like,
because honestly, having a supportive spouse is like,
Yeah.
in my opinion, a requirement. Like, I just can't. I mean, and she doesn't quite get into it either, but
Yeah.
she gets it, right? Like, she
Yeah.
understands why I've busted my ass, and I think obviously with what's happened this week, then that sort of affirms that even more. But that is like the only reason I'm able to, I think, sometimes keep going.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a lot of times I would have just gone fucking bonkers, and it was, you know, the wife who leveled me out and said,
Mhm.
you're kind of dumb because if you stop doing this show or doing that, like, you might regret it forever or whatever. And, you know, like, she's helped with that balance. But I can understand too, because I've been there, and I you know, I really respect the decision you've made, man.
Yeah, and you're telling me that it's gonna be hard for me to quit. I mean, I really appreciate the shout out on 11.3, but one of the things you said there is that's really hard to quit. So that's kind of an interesting statement for sure. You know, like for me, it's the type of person I am is like an all or nothing type of person. You know what I mean? And I eased my way into this esports thing, obviously, just because I didn't know it. You know, it's like I didn't know how to do any of this stuff like originally, but generally speaking, I'm an all or nothing type of person, and that's why like folks that are wondering if, you know, I'll end up doing this part time. I'll never say never, but I can tell you that I'm pretty confident I won't. You know what I mean? I might come back and do Christmas shows and stuff like that, which is cool. You know, not a big deal. And streaming every once in a while is a different story too. But shows, it's, you know, it's one of those things where it's like I commit myself. You know.
Do you feel now that with whatever you have, whether it be connections or experience or knowledge or anything that you've picked up and learned over this period of doing all these shows, like, do you see yourself applying that in, you know, whatever you are doing next? I mean, like, even, you know, I mean, you had to make some connections, right? Like, I'm sure.
Yeah. And that's the thing I missed. That's the thing I'll probably miss the most, you know, just from day to day is getting to hang out with you guys. It's the people, guys. It's the people. I mean, the shows are great and all, but, you know, I've met so many people in esports, and, you know, it was only this year I started going to events, really, you know what I mean, and getting to really meet you guys in person, and you guys are just, you know, you guys are all just really amazing. And just, you know, really nice. And I mean, it sounds like vanilla and shit, saying nice and shit, but it's actually true. You know, it's like I really didn't really know you guys in person, but, you know, meeting you guys is just like I kind of knew you for a long time already, you know, which was really awesome. And from that standpoint, so the people are so important in esports, and that's absolutely one of the things I'll miss the most about it. But I'm not dead. You know, it's not like I don't have you guys at the end of Skype. You can always just hang out.
Course.
But, you know, it is different. Just not being us being
I already
insane.
unfollowed you and shit from Twitter.
Yeah, fuck
I've
you.
almost
Are you gonna do like some personal streaming and shit? Because like you have to do that.
I'll probably do that. I mean, that's one thing I'll you know, that's I don't feel like is that you know, that much of additional time. If I'm going to game, I might as well just stream when I game, right? So
you might as well.
Right, exactly, right? But you know what, just following up on your question too, learning shit, like I learned a ton of shit, like a ton of stuff from doing this too. There's like about myself. I'm like a behind the scenes guy, right? So any little thing like, I mean, I'm not Wheat here, man. I'm not Steven. I'm not Richard. So even just any bit of speaking and that sort of thing I've learned from all this has been beneficial to me no matter where I'm going to be doing this, whether it's like, you know, being on a panel at some conference or just even just giving some presentation for some hackathon I'm like part of, you know, that sort of thing. Absolutely, it's been great learning how to monetize just the ins and outs of really streaming, and, you know, just with the psychology of viewers and that sort of thing, marketing and that sort of thing. All that stuff applies to many things. So like this year in particular, I just felt like, you know, delving into the esports thing was all about education too. Mr. Director of Education here, right? But yeah, it's just all about that, and I feel like I'm preaching here, but it's about learning. You know, like this whole experience was about learning, and I hope a lot of folks. I know a lot of folks want to start shows and stuff. You know, absolutely do that, guys. Like, it is like an amazing experience. Learning about Twitch, learning about YouTube, learning about just how all these people make money in videos. It's a great thing to actually add to your, add to your whatever portfolio or just your library of knowledge.
I have to agree.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard shit to pick up or to understand. Like, you really do have to kind of figure it out. And there's obviously a lot of examples out there, but it's a fantastic learning experience. I mean, streaming always has been. I think everyone who gives streaming a chance sort of figures that out. There's a lot of resources out there that can help you along, but there's no like book that someone can put in front of you that's like, this is how you are successful in this space. So, I mean, it makes me happy to hear. Like, I mean, you've obviously got a deep love for esports. So,
yeah, absolutely.
I mean, are you going to, like, are you continuing with the mobile app stuff? Like,
oh yeah, for sure. I mean,
okay.
I have a company that, that I'm part of, that I've been a part of for like 9 years now, like maybe even 10 years now. I have to actually, it's hard for me to remember sometimes. Probably like 10 years. Been doing it forever, and that's another thing that I'm really lucky with because I have the luxury of going back to it. And making games, making apps is not, it's not like, oh man, I got to go back to this accounting job that I fucking hate. You know what I mean? It's not like that at all. You know what I mean? So it's a job that I actually like. But am I as passionate as making shows? Probably not. I mean, I can safely say it's not, but it's something I do enjoy too. And designing games, making games, that is just the
well, mobile
the
too.
Challenge. Yeah, challenge of trying to get
you and I talked
bit.
about that.
Yeah.
Like, so many people, they have no idea. Like, mobile can potentially be, from a success standpoint, like so much bigger potential than a lot of shit.
It's such a problem. It's a problem that I'm excited to be part of trying to crack too, which is like trying to get a hit game and have it like a sustaining hit game. We can have a hit game for like a few weeks or something like that, but that's not very long.
How do you
know what I mean?
Right?
Yeah, it's like, how do you get like a very long standing hit game? And that's a cool challenge too, because we've done pretty well in the app space, like just over the years, but the games, it's a totally different space. And again, like there are a lot of things that play into it, mobile advertising and all this stuff, just figuring out that. And there's a game in that, aspect too. I mean, like, again, I'm just talking about a little bit, right? And that's kind of what gets me juiced up about that sort of thing. Is figuring that space out too. But yeah, I mean, it's like turned into an interview with me more so than anything else.
I saw an opportunity to ask.
No,
that's
cool. A lot of people don't know this. A lot of people didn't watch the video and stuff, so it's actually good that you're asking me on this. I don't know where Richard is though. Jeez.
What happened to him?
I don't know.
Did he get whacked for his comments?
Yeah, I think he got LS'd, man.
Fucking whack.
Drank too much and passed out. He's gone.
Exactly. So is this the first show the two of you guys have been on together since the craziness? Since the craziness? Are we gonna talk? Are we gonna talk about the craziness here?
Sure. Let's talk about the craziness that happened 2 years ago. I'm over it. I think Steven's over it. Like, I mean, we're not. We don't exactly. We don't exactly like do like, hey, let's do streamer collaborations and shit or anything. But like,
why not?
I mean, like, it was two very passionate people fucking talking about something they were very passionate about. Fucking, actually, I still get more shit over the American Idol Breaking Bad comparison than anything. And it's so fucking hilarious because, like, you break it down and, like, people don't quite understand the point I was making, and my own fault, right? Like, I fucked myself the moment I said that because people didn't see my point. They saw the comparison. But, whatever, dude.
That was a terrible comparison.
Oh, did people want
my
Destiny?
God.
If I haven't officially, like, just so that people know, like, I am sorry that I might have told you to fuck off, or I might have laughed when there was a high five.
I'm pretty sure everybody on that show was like a little bit high strung. I was high strung going into it, so I mean, like, everything got Yeah,
but yeah, I actually, for those who think maybe it happens, my closet is just a coat closet. It does not have a shrine in which I fucking have blood rituals that I perform each night against Stephen Bonnell and whatnot. So no, but this is actually the first show that we've been on since
All right. Burying hatchets. Love it. Love it. All right, so Stark.
that what-
Wait, go ahead.
Oh, I said, is that what we did there?
I guess,
Hatchet.
or for the community at least, even though it's been long gone.
I'm good with that.
Cool. All right, so StarCraft 2, Marcus. Obviously, you've been doing less and less of it. Even like Kings of 10 doesn't. You don't even play it on Kings of 10 anymore for the most part.
I'm wearing pajama pants, by the way. Z Frenchies, just for heads up. I might be wearing the same fucking ones I was wearing that episode, but sorry. StarCraft 2. Let's.
Yeah. So thoughts on StarCraft 2? You still passionate about StarCraft 2?
You know, I'm still passionate about StarCraft 2. I, along with many others, have their concerns, their complaints, you know, their likes and their dislikes. I have unfortunately had to pass up on several StarCraft 2 events this year, which I've been very sad about. And I think because of that, people feel like, oh, well, Wheat is, you know, like abandoned this game. He's out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Fact of the matter is, you could still go back and look, and most of my streaming time is actually StarCraft 2. And although I have not played probably within the last couple months, I actually it's the most for me. It's what I watch the most on Twitch. During the international, I was watching but in the mornings when I fucking grab coffee, I watch StarCraft. When I'm just sitting around or watching shows, I tend to watch StarCraft. For me, the game just speaks well to me. I've been, you know, watching a little bit more CS:GO because I've been playing a little bit more. But yeah, man, like I'm still passionate for StarCraft, but I think I'm waiting for Legacy of the Void and hoping that there's, you know, some chance that shit will turn around. I don't know. I don't want to get overly optimistic because I don't want to be fucking disappointed, but you know, I do sorely feel like there's some issues, and I'm going to keep watching and keep supporting it. You know, obviously it's interesting because I feel like StarCraft 2 has blossomed more from a community perspective in the last year as a result of some of the, you know, maybe some of the decline, and that's great. But you know, I'm not sitting here with beaming confidence that Legacy of the Void is going to solve all the issues, and that's probably, you know, the thing that makes me the most sad.
Okay, actually, let me pull Nathanias on here since Richard's having issues, and then we can get him on here too because he was like the next guest anyway, so we'll just kind of overlap a little bit. Oh, maybe he's not around. Oh God. Yeah, I mean, you know, the way you talk about it, just like even now, it's, you know, you seem kind of, you know, you seem kind of down on it. And you know,
Well,
we spent. Hey, what's up, Nate? And we spent some time talking about just, you know, the decline. We talked about the decline, but it's kind of leveled off, you know, more than the decline. And so, you know, some of the numbers are, relatively speaking, you know, low compared to the esports, but raw number wise, it's still not, you know, it's not bad. You know,
No,
it's not that.
I'm
worse
sorry.
than-
Let me reiterate, because when I say decline, I see it more in the player base than I see it in the watching base.
Okay.
I mean, you know, I think that if everyone logged into their StarCraft, right? Well, if everyone logged in, then it would sort of defeat the experiment. But if people logged in, they would find that, you know, there's either no one on StarCraft or a lot of people on their friends list on Hearthstone. So, you know, will Legacy of the Void increase the amount of players? I think that any new game will. But that's what I really hope to see happen, because anytime you have new players, then you oftentimes have new viewers, as we've seen historically over the past, and that's one place where StarCraft isn't excelling like Go or like League of Legends or like Dota 2, in that it's much more difficult to get the new players that then convert to viewers.
Right. I mean, a lot of it has to do with ratio of users to viewers. StarCraft's always been, like, ratio-wise, the highest, right, from the standpoint of viewers to players. You know, just given.
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's absolutely true. In fact, it's probably by a lot, given just the player base at this point. Steven, would you say it's like a huge ratio compared to the other games?
In terms of people that watch to people that play?
Yeah, just the viewer to, like, actual player ratio.
I don't know. It's really hard to say. It's hard to say because it's like, I don't know. I would need more information. Like if I had absolute numbers, I could make a guess. Like when you look at a game like League of Legends, like one of the things that people always say is like, well, League has like 5 times as many viewers as StarCraft, but like 50 times as many players. But I don't know how many of those are like ultra